Hello, my fellow frugal retirees and future retirees. As I recently promised, I'm going to start reading more of your comments online and sharing them with you in these videos. I think I'm going to try to do one of these videos a week, so we'll see how it goes. Now, I'm using my mom's old phone. I don't use it as a phone, but I use it to answer your comments. So I am definitely going to have to put on my glasses to read these. These are my cheater glasses, my magnifying glasses that I just bought from the dollar store the other day. So let's see how this goes. Now, I'm going to start with this one comment. This is one of the best comments I've ever read. This comment is from, and I thought you might enjoy it. It's a really interesting story about being cheap. So Joe Gilbody says, I bought 5 t-shirts for $7. They said Providence, the Millennium City 2000. I bought in 2001 after New Year craze. I was sent to a convention in Seattle. I was sitting in a restaurant with one of these t-shirts on, and a gentleman and his wife invited me to join them for dinner. He was from Providence. We shared memories. He insisted on paying for the meal. Later, I was on a trip to Portland, Maine for a hockey game. I had taken the down Easter train up from Boston. I opened my jacket so my t-shirt showed, and a woman asked me if I was really from Providence. I said yes, and bingo, I was on the Jumbotron screen. I got tickets to a first-class hotel, meal vouchers, gift certificates to one of the 60s shops I planned to visit. That $1.25 t-shirt made me more than it was worth. Yeah, a lot more. I just love this comment. When I read it, I couldn't believe it. I thought, wow, talk about hitting the jackpot. Joe was just trying to be frugal or cheap and trying to save a few bucks on a t-shirt or a couple of t-shirts, and he really hit the jackpot, didn't he? Has that ever happened to any of you? I don't think that's ever happened to me, where I was trying to save a couple of dollars on something and I ended up making like a ton of money. So he really did well with that find, didn't he? All right, let's see if there's some others here. So thanks, Joe, for sharing that and give me a laugh. And if that doesn't inspire everyone to become a cheapskate, or at least frugal, I don't know what will. Some of these are really long. This one's from Anna. Anna says, good morning, Steve. Yes, I caught on quickly. You are frugal. If it weren't for my husband, who was frugal all his life, versus me, who gave money away to every person who needed it, we would not have been able to retire very comfortably at age 54 and 63 6 years ago due to unexpected diagnosis. I thank God my husband was always frugal, not driven by ego. And now that I care for him and make financial decisions, I've become a frugal, good steward of purchases. We still enjoy and treat ourselves. I do understand things are expensive, but it takes money for manufacturers to get the goods to market. The market has overhead, etc. It's my decision to buy or not to buy. And that's true. I think she was referring to, this was left on my video where I kind of went on a tirade about how we're being gouged by all these big corporations. And she makes a good point. I mean, we are being gouged, I think, but I guess she's a little bit more tolerant or lenient of these companies than I was. Thank you, Anna, for your comment. Another really long comment. I love all of your comments, and I just have to say that if it takes me a while to get back to you and to respond to your comment, a lot of the reason is because I do get so many comments, sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands a week, definitely thousands each month. And they're not just 1 or 2 sentences. They're not where I can just add a heart or say thank you or whatever. Most of these are like really long stories, which I really appreciate. Very interesting, very helpful, lots of good tips and things. But it takes me a long time to read them and then to also then respond to them. So I still have comments from a month or 2 ago that I haven't gotten to, but I'm slowly trying to get there. So eventually I will probably respond to your comments. Some of you may be surprised when 6 months later I respond to a comment that you made and you totally forgot that you even made it. So, but it's your own fault for making these long comments. All right, so Berserkly says, my parents grew up in the Great Depression, and at an early age I grew up to be frugal. Today in my 70s, I can afford to purchase anything I want, and I am still frugal, but I am generous. I donate every month to feed the poor, support the Humane Society, and the church. I will help friends if they are in a financial bind. I still have a habit that I learned in my youth, and that is, whenever I buy something, I always think, how much could I sell this for? Be it a car, a home, or a nice fountain pen. Beware of corporate greed, Steve. You mentioned that at the end of your life, you would spend all your money. I know you have a child and grandchild. What about them? The investments and money I make today is not for me. It's for my children and grandchildren. So I responded to Berserkly and I said, that was a very good point about leaving inheritance money to your family members or friends or whoever you want to leave it to. And I'm going to wait and answer that in a video just devoted just to that topic because it's a very big topic. But he made a good point, and I didn't clarify that when I was talking about that in that video. I'm guessing some of you also noticed that. We're probably wondering the same thing. Amy B says, I comparison shop using the apps for the stores like Walmart and Fred Meyer. We don't have a Fred Meyer here that I'm aware of, but I have heard of them. I know they're a pretty big chain, I guess, wherever she lives. I will look up the prices before I go shopping. Occasionally, I will look up the prices while shopping. If I am at Fred Meyer's, I will look to see what the prices while shopping is or are at Walmart. We don't have Dollar Tree stores in Alaska. Okay, so she's in Alaska. We have Dollar Zones. I have shopped at them occasionally, but they don't have a big selection of items. So thanks, Amy, for sharing this with us. And you and I think one or two others also mentioned comparing prices. If you watched the video where I was at the Dollar Tree, I was walking around saying, I think this is more or less at Walmart, and maybe I would have to check to see. And I forgot that on my phone, while I was walking through the Dollar Tree, I have my Walmart app. I could have just opened it up and looked at it to compare the prices, and that just never even occurred to me. So thank you, Amy, and the rest of you who suggested that I do that in the future. I don't know, sometimes I just don't think of the obvious. Yeah, it never even occurred to me. Plus, well, in the past, I would always film with my iPhone, and so I'd be filming, so it'd be very difficult to then look up apps and try to film and look, it was just very difficult. Now, I'm filming with my other camera, my newer camera, which I can just stick in my pocket. It's about the third, actually it's a quarter of the size of my iPhone, so it's very convenient to just stick in my pocket, and then I can look up the Walmart app while I'm at the Dollar Tree or vice versa. So thank you, that was a really good tip. I'm probably the last to know about that, or the last to think about doing that. The Go-Go Year says, funny you should mention your mom's plastic wrap. My mom died 2.5 years ago, and I'm still using the plastic wrap I took from her house. My mom loved to get a bargain, so she always stocked up. Yeah, that was the same with my mom. I don't know, when my brothers were here, we were laughing that we were still using the plastic wrap from my mom's house from 4 years ago when she died. So it's not exactly a legacy, not exactly an heirloom or anything, or an inheritance, but a very fun memory of my mom. So every time I use plastic wrap, I think of my mom. Well, I think about her all the time anyway, but definitely think about her when I'm using her plastic wrap, or Glad plastic wrap. Do any of you guys have similar stories? If so, share in the comments. KS says, I knew a man who would go to conferences and take the free food home with him. If there was a pizza at a party, he would take extra and take it with him. He always had baggies or Tupperware on him. He was prepared and ready. He was not poor. In fact, he lived in a very wealthy part of town and drove a vintage sports car. That guy was a miser, not you. Yeah, that was about the video I did about the viewer who left a comment saying she thought it was a miser. I think someone else also left a comment similar to this that was really sad about someone who was very, very wealthy and ended up a pauper. And, well, let's see if I've got that comment on the phone. This also reminded me of some friends of my mom. Every time they would come to a party, my mom was always very generous. As I mentioned, in my family, I come from a very generous family. And she was just, every time she would have, every week, she would have a couple of parties, and she would always supply the alcohol and most of the time, most of the food. And all of her friends would come over, drink the alcohol, eat all the food, and once in a while they would bring food too. And once in a while there'd be a potluck party. But this particular couple, they weren't poor, they had money. And maybe one of the reasons they had money is because they never spent a penny of their own. And we loved them. I mean, we all loved them. But it was kind of annoying because at the end of every party, they didn't bring their own baggies or their own containers. They used my mom's baggies and containers, and they would just load everything up and take everything home with them. So my mom didn't have any leftovers, and she was just too nice to say anything about it. And I'm a nice person, but I wouldn't have been that nice. I would say you're welcome to take a little bit if you want to have some of the leftovers too, but I want some of the leftovers. I mean, that's part of the fun of having parties and meals and get-togethers is that you have some leftovers. And if one couple always takes all the leftovers home with them, that's just not right, I don't think. Now, if they were poor, if they were needy, if they needed the food, if they were donating the food to a charity or a church or something, then of course. But they weren't doing that. They were just making sure they didn't have to spend any of their own money, and they wouldn't have to buy any food for a couple of days because they could just eat off of my mom's food until the next party. So they probably never had to buy any of their own groceries. They just came over and ate all of my mom's food. So yeah, there was another friend that she had who came over and went through the pantry and said, well, do you need this? I'd like to take this. I'm like, what? You know, this was after my mom had her stroke, and I was there taking care of my mom and buying food, and yeah, the neighbor was just going through my mom's pantry, seeing what she wanted. And I was like, no, this is my mom's food, and so wait until she dies, and then you can come and raid the pantry if you want. It was weird. So yeah, there are a lot of misers out there. I don't know if you call them misers or stingy, or I don't know what the word would be for someone like that, but yeah, my mom seemed to have quite a few friends like that. I think whenever you're a nice, generous person, you just attract those kind of people, because that's why I attracted so many people like that in my younger years before I decided those aren't the kind of friends that I want to have. California KC says, when I think of Palm Springs, I immediately think of people with a lot of money. This is the last place I would ever think there would be a Dollar Tree. Live and learn. Yeah, it's funny, Casey, that we actually have 3 Dollar Tree stores right in the city of Palm Springs. I don't know how many are throughout the desert here because we have a lot of cities, but just here in the city we have 3, and I think I've done videos from all 3, and I'll continue. In fact, my next Dollar Tree visit, I'll visit the one that's in Midtown, or close to the downtown area of Palm Springs, and then in the video after that, in my next visit to Dollar Tree, I'll visit the one that's in the southern end of Palm Springs, which is in the same parking lot as Aldi and right across the street from Walmart. So it's very convenient. All of these really affordable places to shop are all just like right across the street or next door to each other. So yeah, it is kind of surprising, I think, to a lot of people because Palm Springs is known for movie stars and millionaires, and we do have lots of those. But the surprising thing is we also have some of the most affordable housing here in Palm Springs as well, especially for 55 plus seniors and retirees. Lots of mobile home and manufactured home communities, and until just recently where the real estate prices have just gone completely crazy over the last 10 years, you could move into one of those communities for well under 100,000, in many for under 50,000 to buy a really nice mobile home on a golf course. So now those are probably over 100, maybe 100, even 150, but still some real good bargains here in real estate for retirees. I think that's also why we have so many retirees living here in Palm Springs. So anyway, again, topic for another video. I'll try to stay on track here, but thanks, Casey, for mentioning that. I get comments like that a lot. People are very surprised just because, yeah, we are known for our millionaires and our movie stars here. The Jeffrey says, hi Steve, I always enjoy going to the dollar store. I also go to Walmart as well. There are certain things I have to have from Walmart, but not everything. So when I go to the dollar store, I will open my Walmart app and compare prices. Okay, Jeffrey was one of the others who mentioned this. compare prices as though I'm shopping online at Walmart, basically putting in, let's say, the cheese puffs from Walmart and compare them to the cheese puffs from the dollar store. Yeah, I've been talking about cheese puffs a lot in my videos lately. I don't know, maybe do they come out in the summer more? I mean, they seem to be everywhere in all these stores. And usually I can even compare the net weight in ounces. Yeah, that's good because it's really hard to compare apples to apples sometimes because you don't know. Like at the dollar store, a lot of times the items look like a good price, but they're a lot smaller. The package is a lot smaller than some of the other stores. Then, if it's really a bargain at the dollar store, I'll buy it there. Another great video. I'll buy it there. Another great video. Thank you so much. I enjoy them. I enjoy them so much. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend as well. Thank you, Jeffrey, and the same to you. And thanks for sharing that. And I will never go to one of these stores again without remembering to check my Walmart app. Oh, here's the other video that I was referring to about the wealthy person who was such a miser that he ended up dying poor, and it kind of came around to bite him in the butt. Unfortunately, when I copied this to the phone to save so I could read it later, easily find and read it later, I didn't get the person's name, so I'm sorry. Whoever left this comment, this is a really good comment. If I can go back and find it, maybe I'll put it down here, down below. So the person who left this comment said, I knew an old guy who ate at soup kitchens, used almost zero electricity by sitting in the dark, took advantage of free rides from volunteers, notwithstanding the fact that he had a car and drove. He stole kitchen packets at fast food restaurants, paid bills in person to avoid buying postage stamps. We called him Milliwatt Rob for his miserly use of electricity. He went into a nursing home with a zero mortgage house and a 6-figure bank account. After 3 years in the nursing home, he was broke and was buried in Potter's Field. So he didn't even have enough money to have a gravesite or a headstone. He was just buried in a random Potter's Field grave. All he accomplished was to delay his qualification for Medicaid. He also never paid tips to any service provider and mowed his own lawn. Well, I think it's okay to mow your own lawn because it's good exercise. We don't have a lawn, we have gravel. We're in the desert, we have sand and dirt. But if we had one, I would do it just for the exercise part. But yeah, that is really sad on so many different levels. It's also sad that he had all of this money, a 6-figure income and house and all of this. He was a millionaire, and in 3 months he went broke because of our extremely expensive healthcare system here in the U.S. I assume this was in the U.S., but if not, other places as well. Although in many places in the country, it's so much cheaper. Healthcare is just like unbelievably cheaper. And from what I've heard and from studies and things, just as good, which is also even sadder. So anyway, thank you for sharing that. Deborah White says, I am a Walmart girl and a Value Village girl. Is Value Village a store? I haven't heard of them. And Thrift Store girl. Cheap and cheerful, eh? All right, Deborah, I'm sure we would be very good friends. I'm cheap and cheerful too. And I don't know, are you Canadian? Shelley Turner says, too soon old, too late smart. We retired with a mortgage. We're doing okay, but that was super dumb. No other debt. Well, don't be too hard on yourself, Shelley. You're not alone. In fact, I just posted another poll asking viewers if they retired with debt or with no debt. And I'll be sharing that in a future video, and Shelley is definitely not alone. There are a lot of retirees who have retired with debt. Probably most of the time from no fault of their own. It's just life sometimes. Like I've said before, the luck of the draw. Some of us are lucky, some of us are not so lucky when it comes to those type of things. But I think we all do the best we can. Thanks for sharing, Shelley. Richie Rich says, hi Steve, enjoying the videos. I don't anticipate moving from California, but I'm curious about the tax situations. Does Robert, that's my brother, have to pay any income tax? Is there a state tax in Thailand, etc.? Do you still pay taxes to USA, etc.? Thanks so much. Yeah, Rich, I'm not really sure exactly how to answer this, except from what Robert has told me. He's still an American citizen. So if you're an American citizen living over abroad, you still have to pay taxes here in the U.S. if you have anything that's taxable. He doesn't own any property here in the U.S., so he doesn't have to pay property tax. But any income he makes from his investments, dividends and things. I'm sure he has to pay taxes here in the US for that. He's not on Social Security yet, but once he's on Social Security, depending on where the address is that he uses here, because he has his banks here, I think. Yeah, that's an interesting topic. I'm not really sure, but yes, I'm pretty sure Americans have to pay taxes on any income they make here in the U.S. Now, and you're not allowed in Thailand. He's not allowed to work and make any income, and he's not allowed to buy any property in his own name. So if he bought property and went up in value, would he have to pay property tax? Does Thailand even have property tax? And if they did, he would pay to Thailand, not to the U.S. So yeah, it's an interesting topic, and hopefully my brother Robert will see this video or see this comment, and he can answer it under the comment for any of you that are interested. Or maybe some of you will know and you can share in the comments. My camera is starting to get hot, and hopefully it won't shut itself down. If it does, I'll have to put it in the refrigerator and cool it down for a while, and then I'll come back. I guess maybe I'm talking too long, but there's so many good comments. I want to read as many as I can. And I know not everyone watches the entire videos anyway, but some of you do. Some of you might have only 15 minutes to watch, or some a half hour, some an hour. So I make longer videos for those of you who want them, and then if you don't, you just watch as much as you want. So this one was interesting because I shared a video. I don't know how many of you watch shorts, but I shared a short video. In fact, it did better than any video on my channel has ever done. I think I have up to 175,000 views now on this little short about the price of cheese balls at Walmart. I was there with my brother a few weeks ago, and we saw this display with containers of cheese balls for $7 and like 26 cents or something. And I was like, what? It's like, I don't eat cheese balls, so I don't know the price, but I was like, oh my God, this is a container full of puffed air. It's like, who would pay $7? So I did the video, and apparently a lot of people, they love cheese balls and they pay any price for them. And they thought I was crazy, and they left nasty comments saying how awful I was for saying that they were expensive. Others, of course, agreed with me and were outrageous too. But something a lot of people said was that compared to other snack foods, I guess it's not that expensive. They said Lay's potato chips a bag of potato chips can be $6 or $7. So the reason I mention this is because Patwo left this comment saying, Aldi has Clancy potato chips for $1.50. They are just as good as Lay's. Lay's wants $6 for a bag of potato chips. Duh. So of course, she's gonna buy them at Aldi. I haven't made a trip to Aldi in a while. I don't eat potato chips. My mother loved potato chips. I do eat tortilla chips sometimes. And if I could find baked potato chips or baked chips, then I would probably eat them more. So maybe it's good that they don't seem to make them. I never see them anywhere. But for those of you who weren't aware, Aldi has Clancy potato chips for $1.50. That sounds like a really good deal. Even at Walmart, the potato chips are more than $1.50. I've seen them on sale before for $1.50, but usually they are more even the store brand. So thanks for that heads up. And I don't know if all of the old Aldis have the same price, if that was a special or what, but maybe some of you will know and can let us know in a future comment. All right, so ITZTYUV says, why is Lamont using your picture as a profile on TikTok? I doubt that he is. Some of you may remember that I posted a video about how someone had stolen all of the videos or a lot of the videos on my other channel, the Graveyard channel, and created, in fact, maybe I didn't mention on this channel, and created a TikTok channel called the Graveyard channel, and they used my photo on it and my videos, and there was really nothing I could do about it. And it's kind of a long story. My camera just died and I had to put it in the refrigerator, and I had to get a new battery as well, so I'm not sure where I left off, but I think this person is referring to Lamont at Large or Lamont on the Run. And Lamont is way more successful than me on any of my channels. I only have these two channels. Lamont has, I think, about a dozen channels now, and I think he has over 1 million subscribers with all of his channel, and millions and millions and millions of views. And maybe he does have a TikTok account, but probably he doesn't. It's probably a fake account because there's no reason for him to use my face or any of my videos. His face is much more famous than mine, and his videos are much more famous than mine. So I'm sure it's just a fake account. There are a lot of fake accounts on TikTok apparently. And AI is starting to become a real problem as well, where they're making deepfakes where someone creates an account that looks like you, sounds like you, it's like I'm sitting here talking to you, endorsing products and things that you've never endorsed. So I'm going to show that on another video, but that's becoming a problem too. So thank you for the heads up, and yeah, there's nothing I can really do about it, and it's just sad. So just so you know though, I don't have a TikTok account, but thanks for the heads up. Okay, so this one was about my brother's, the video I did with my brother says, has the cost of living gone up for retirees in Thailand? And 99JGF says, who cares? I prefer your old videos and posts. Rather not watch an episode on, oh, I can't share this. It's just too, yeah, okay, so what he says. So, yeah, sometimes you get comments like that. So that's all I can read of that comment. And obviously he's not interested in this channel, so hopefully he found another one that he prefers. Linda says, another nice video, Mr. Steve. Bless you and Jim and your family. Have a great new week ahead. Laugh out loud. Heading to the farm stand for fresh corn. Yummy. I guess that was referring to my corn video. AJ Wells says, I would love to visit Palm Springs. Could you be my tour guide while I'm there? Okay, so thank you for this comment, AJ. It brings up a big topic. Some of you may have noticed that I recently changed my channel name. In fact, I've changed it a couple of times. And it's not just for random reasons, it's for good reasons. And this is actually one of the reasons. I started this channel as a retirement channel, and it was called The Retired Life with Steve. Then I changed it a couple of times because it wasn't really doing very well. And my direction on my channel has gone in a lot of different directions over the years. And I thought, let me just focus on only doing videos in Palm Springs. So I changed it to Steve in Palm Springs, the name of the channel, to Steve in Palm Springs. But I said in the description, it's just about me as a retired person living in Palm Springs. But the focus was still just me and my retired life. It was still about being retired and about me being an old guy retired here in Palm Springs. Well, most people don't, I guess, read the description, so they just saw Steve in Palm Springs. And I can't tell you how many comments I received every single day. I would get at least one comment, because I had that channel name for probably 6 months to a year, and every day I would get a comment saying, oh, I'm coming to town and I would love to meet you so you can show me around town, and I'd love to go on a walk with you, and you could show me the best neighborhoods, or I'd love to go walking in the hills with you, or I'd like to. Now, some people were really nice. They said, I'd like to take you out to coffee, or to breakfast, or to lunch, or to dinner, or whatever, and hang out, and then go see the sights and do things. And so it was really nice that people wanted to meet me and go do things. But for the most part, I think most of the people, they just wanted a free tour guide, and they were looking at my channel as a video guide to Palm Springs, not as a personal vlog about my life as a retiree who happens to live in Palm Springs. So I realized it was sort of like false advertising, not intentionally, but people at least were reading into it, the title and the videos. They were saying, because I love Palm Springs and I would go places and go on walks in Palm Springs and show the different sites in Palm Springs, but that was just part of my life as a retiree. These were the things I was doing. Never occurred to me that people would think of it as a video guide to Palm Springs, so when you come here on vacation, you know where to go and what to do. That was not at all what I was planning, what I wanted the channel to be. So I realized I had to change the channel because of comments like this. Every single day, people asking me to be their tour guide when they come to Palm Springs on a vacation. And then usually when I would say no, very nicely, they would get really mad and unsubscribe and leave nasty comments. So they weren't even nice about it. So the only reason they were watching is because they wanted a free tour guide. So interesting, huh? So in case you were wondering why I changed my channel name a lot, there's usually always a reason for it. And so that was the reason I changed it back to The Retired Life with Steve. But then, well, I'll explain maybe in another video why I just recently changed it again. But it's still about retirement. It's always been about retirement, but trying to come up with the right title so that people really know what the channel's about has not always been real easy. Tripper111 says, Robert is great. I give him so much credit for doing that long out-of-the-country move and learning how to adjust and he seems happy overall. Back in 2003, I left the Bay Area where I was born and raised and moved out to the Sacramento suburbs and have been there ever since. And it took me forever to fully adjust with only a 2-hour move. Well, it's funny because my other brother, John, lives in Sacramento. So thanks for the comment, Tripper, and I'm glad you finally adjusted and made the move. I'm sure it's a lot less expensive in the Sacramento area. In fact, I was just watching a video the other day, and they were talking about the 10 most affordable places to retire in California, and I think 3 or 4 of them were in and around Sacramento. I was kind of surprised about that. I didn't realize it was so affordable up there. One thing I think that made it easier for my brother Robert is that he had a job. His entire career was working for one of the big retail stores. And because he was single, in order to be promoted, I guess you had to move from store to store every few years, and he was happy to do it. He didn't have any kids, didn't have a spouse, didn't have any pets, and he was just renting at the time, saving his money. So he moved. During his career, he must have lived in, I don't know, 5 or 10 different states. So he was constantly on the move, didn't really have a lot of roots. So I think for him, it was real natural to, when he retired, just to move again, and this time overseas, abroad, to Thailand. That just wasn't a big deal for him. He lived in Hawaii for 10, 15 years. So he really could, and even though Hawaii is part of the United States, it's an island out in the middle of the Pacific, and it's very, very different. The lifestyle is very different than being here on the mainland. So it probably prepared him a lot for life in Thailand, and moving around every few years also, I think, prepared him for just being more of a nomad. So let's read a few more. So this one's from Gary RR. Says, Dove soap, you're such a hoot, Steve. Love the Body of Spice and Tony's chacharas. I don't know how to pronounce that as well. Dollar Tree carries spices, and pepper is not $7 there. You know, it's funny, when I was there at Dollar Tree, I didn't even look to see if there was pepper, or I didn't notice any pepper, and if so, what the price was. Well, I guess it would be $1.25 or $1.50. Yeah, it was $7 when my brother and I were at Walmart for the name brand. It was like $7, and even the store brand was almost $7, or maybe it was more. I don't know. It was kind of surprising for both of us. Your brothers resemble you now. It would be interesting to see the 3 of you in your teens for comparison. Robert seems to have a lot of baggage. Have a good one, Steve. Now, baggage, I think he's referring to Robert bought a ton of stuff when he was here, and he had to put them in suitcases to take back. So I think that's the baggage that he's referring to. I don't know. I guess we all have a lot of baggage after you get to a certain age, but I think he's talking about actual luggage. Yeah, you know, it's funny. If you look at pictures of the 3 of us, I don't know if I'll have time to go back and find pictures of us when we were young. If I can, I'll post them here. If not, maybe in a future video. But a lot of you left comments about how much we look alike. A lot of you said we look like twins, me and Robert, or that we look like triplets. I mean, a lot of comments. And it made me laugh because if you can see pictures of us when we were kids, we don't look anything alike. I mean, I guess we kind of look like brothers, but we really don't look much alike at all. We all have 3 very distinctive looks. And it is funny how now that we all have lost our hair to one extent or another, and we're old, and I guess old people start looking alike, and bald old men start looking alike. There was someone made a comment about that in The White Lotus, in the Thailand season 3 White Lotus that we love White Lotus, and one of the women was talking about all the old bald guys who moved to Thailand to meet young women and get married, and she was one of the young women that one of the old bald guys had met. But yeah, I think they sort of panned around, they showed a party or something, or a restaurant where all these old men were with younger women, younger Thai women, and all the bald guys, they all looked alike. So yeah, I guess it happens to you. You get old and bald, and you just start all looking like Uncle Fester. I've said that before. I look at pictures of Uncle Fester, and sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, oh my God, Uncle Fester's alive again. And I looked at a picture or I was watching a video of my brother the other day, and I was like, God, he's starting to look like Uncle Fester too. Sorry, Robert. Yeah, I guess it just happens to us. So sorry. I mean, do you guys experience that too, where you just start looking like all of your old friends all start looking alike? Yeah, I think that's probably fairly common. So thanks for the comment, Gary, I think. Oh, and the Dove soap comment. I wasn't familiar with Dove chocolate, and in the store, their logo looks a lot like Dove soap. So I was thinking that Dove soap was now making chocolate. So that got clarified in another video. So Gary also left another comment on another video. He said, Steve, the best place I have found for water bottles is independent thrift stores. I was looking for a water bottle on one of my videos at Walmart, and I spent like 2 hours looking for the right size, the right price, the right material, and I was having a hard time being such a cheapskate. I didn't want to spend like $20 for one that was kind of perfect, but it was 20 bucks. So anyway, you can watch that video if you're curious what I actually bought. People get rid of their bottles when they find that they have too many. I have found just the kinds I was looking for $1 or $2. I just got a turquoise one with the top handle with double wall stainless steel for $1, like brand new until I dropped it and dented it. Oh, sorry about that. But yeah, thanks Gary for the heads up and the tip. Again, one of those things never even occurred to me to look at a Walmart, to look at a thrift store for a really nice water bottle for cheap. So I'm definitely going to do that. It gives me another reason to go back. I haven't been to a thrift store in about a year now, so I will be doing that soon, and I'll let you all know if I'm able to find a water bottle there that I like that's small enough to hook onto my belt loop. It's got to be small. I have a large one actually. I think that I could use. It's a metal one that has an area that I could hook, but it's so gigantic it would just bang into my as I'm walking for an hour. It'd be bang, bang, bang. I'd have a big bruise. Now that I'm on blood thinners for my heart, I bruise really easily. So my whole side of my leg would be one big bruise, I'm sure. So that's why I need a smaller one that's not going to bang as much. Kenneth, the rest of his last name got cut off, Bodie or Bode something, says, I walk at Walmart or Home Depot when it's too cold or hot. I find Home Depot less crowded most times. I bought a shoulder strap from Amazon that holds a 16-ounce cup with a lid I already had and have yet to use it. I usually walk about 2 to 3 miles when outside, but shorter when in a store. That's awesome. Yeah, he's referring to my video where I walked around inside Amazon for a couple of hours because it was like over 100 degrees outside and even a little humid here, which we don't get humidity very often. So I'm glad to know that he does that as well. Bill O'Neill says, Steve, I bought a cooling towel from Target and it works well. I try and walk 8 to 10 miles a day. That's good. 8 to 10 miles. That's quite a lot. But it's been so hot in Chicago recently, I'm only able to do 5 miles. Still, 5 miles is good. I try to do 5 miles. Well, I do 5 to 10,000 steps. I don't know if that even gets to 5 miles a day, but I still get quite a few steps in, but he's getting a lot more than me. Today is much cooler, so I'm going to try for 10 miles. I prefer walking further distances in the winter as the cold doesn't bother me. Yeah, it is easier in the cold. Ice bothers me. Yeah, you have to watch out for slipping on the ice there, though. I've been to Palm Springs several times in the winter and fall, but couldn't last a day in the summer. Great video, as is always the case. Thanks, Bill. Yeah, the summer walking, especially when it's 100 degrees out, is not advisable for anybody. It's way too warm. And as you get older, your body doesn't deal with the heat as well. You can have heat stroke a lot easier, a lot faster than when you're young. Dorothy, or Dorthra, it's funny now when I save these, and actually when I look at the comments, a lot of times your names are, especially if you have a long name, a long YouTube handle, it gets cut off. And if I click on it, it brings it up on its own. Sometimes I can get a little bit more, but a lot of times I don't get to read the whole name. But I do know this is Dorthra, and she says, hey Steve, look up about leaving bottled water in a hot car. I got really sick and doctor told me it was the bottle that water comes in. Go to a Family Dollar for a water bottle or cup. I paid $3 for my 30-ounce. Wish I could show you a picture. It has a strong handle and it's insulated. Yeah, Dorthra, I definitely don't leave my bottles in the hot cars. And if for some reason I do leave it in the car, and that actually has happened where I've gone on a 2-hour walk, I came back and I was so thirsty I went to drink the water, it was hot. I don't drink in a plastic bottle where the water is hot because I do think the plastic possibly leaches into the water, so I don't want that. So I only drink cold water in plastic water bottles. And most of the time what I do is I'll have my water bottle, and it's like ice water. It might have ice in it. And then if I'm going somewhere and I leave the water bottle in the car, I'll bury it under a pile of blankets and towels and other things, so it never even gets warm. And so I get back and I take it out, and the water's still very cold, and sometimes even still has the ice in it. So yeah, it's thank you for that. It's good advice, especially for others who might not be aware of that. But that's something I'm definitely aware of. I don't know if people told me, or I just assume that drinking hot water in a plastic bottle is probably not a good thing. Maybe one or two more comments. Denise Donna Cow, cut off after that. I don't know if it's Donakowski. Sorry, Donna. Says, I love to shop. That's a good idea, Steve, to walk at Walmart if it's too warm outside. I walk at my mall when it's too hot or cold on my or go on my treadmill. Yeah, I love to walk. I'm glad to hear so many of you also love to walk. A lot of you have left comments about walking in malls and stores. Yeah, it's fun. It's like, I'm sure Walmart doesn't mind, because you're there, you're walking, looking at all these items, and we're all pretty impulsive. It's kind of hard to resist buying at least something while you're there. So it's kind of a win-win, I think, for everybody. So Sylvia Wendell says, I usually walk the mall without stopping and get 2,000 steps. Then I do a second lap, walk to actually window shop. So that's additional steps. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Sylvia. Glad we're all getting our steps in. That's really nice. Okay, I got a couple really, really long ones, so I think I'll share those for maybe the next comment video. Sherry D says, handy hint for any water bottle, use a sock, new or old, to cover them and add extra insulation decoration. The sock can be thick or thin, depending on the reasoning for the day. It's so much fun to get old. Yeah, yes, these are things we definitely didn't think about when we were kids, did we? Thank you, Sherry. That was an awesome tip. And I mentioned that, I think, in my walk around the Dollar Tree the other day, that just never occurred to me to put a sock, because I kept saying, well, I want this plastic water bottle, but I don't want it exposed to the sunlight, and just never occurred to me to just put it in a sock. And I've got tons of socks, so that's very easy to do. And if it does bang against my leg, the cushion from the sock will help as well. So yeah, thank you. And actually quite a few of you mentioned that in addition to Sherry. So yeah, I guess I was the last one to know. Okay, so a lot more comments. Well, like I said, I get hundreds a week, sometimes thousands a month. Well, almost always thousands a month. So I won't be able to read all of your comments, but the ones I find especially interesting, I'll be reading. And then also just random comments that I think you might be interested, or, if you offer a special tip. A lot of you offer tips about things. So, those are always fun to share, because not just with me, but with others. And I think I mentioned that my brothers watch my channel, but they really love reading the comments. So I know a lot of you love reading comments. I was never really one to read comments. Before I had my own YouTube channel, I never once read anybody's comments on their YouTube channel. Again, never occurred to me, and I wouldn't have really even found it that interesting. Now I do. Now that I have my own channel, and I've been reading comments on my channels now for almost a decade, I have read so many crazy, wild, unbelievable comments, and some really wonderful comments. Oops, it looks like my battery has all of about 30 seconds left, so I'm going to say thank you to all of you who left comments, and there'll be more to come in the next video. If you haven't already subscribed, I hope you'll think about doing that. It's free, just like all the best things in life. I guess I don't need these anymore. As always, thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time.